Hey kiddos, hopefully you had a great spring break. I know you didn't get to do anything that you would normally get to do on spring break, but at least you didn't have to do schoolwork. So that's an added bonus. We're back for another at least 2 weeks of online schooling. And then we'll see what Governor DeWine says at that point, if we can come back to school or if we'll continue with the online school. Okay, so I know it's not ideal. Hang in there. We left off at a really great place in Among the Hidden, right? Remember our main character, Luke? He had been watching out the vent at the neighbors' homes that were being built behind him. He lived like on a farm, and the government said they had to sell the land behind his house. And barons, who are really wealthy people, were building homes back there. And so since Luke is the third child, and in this society you're only allowed to have 2 children, Luke had to stay hidden, right? And once those homes were being built, he had to be hidden more than usual. So it used to be like he could go into his backyard, okay, before the homes were being built, but now he can't even come downstairs, right? So it's really changing for him. But he has these vents up in his ceiling, and he's able to look out at the houses, and he's kind of like named the families behind him. And so he has the bird brain family and the sports family and the big car family, and he counts the people as they're leaving. So he knows exactly how many people live directly behind him. And one day when he's watching and he's counted 28 people leaving, he sees something suspicious in the sports family, and he sees what he thinks, right, is another third child. Excuse me, or at least a child that wasn't accounted for. Okay, so he doesn't do anything first about it because he's kind of a chicken, I think, a little bit. But I would be too, because he doesn't know what's really going to happen to him if he were to get caught, right? Being a third child, nobody really has ever told him, hey, if you're caught and you're a third child, this is what's going to happen, or it's going to be death, or you're going to be imprisoned, or maybe nothing will happen, right? He just doesn't know. But he sees it again, and he decides at the end of chapter 12 that it's like now or never. Okay, so we're on chapter 13. He had forgotten what fresh air felt like, filling his nostrils and lungs, and it felt good. With his back pressed against the house, he stood still for a moment, just breathing. All the months that he'd spent inside suddenly seemed like a dream. He'd been like some confused animal, hibernating during nice weather. The last real thing that had happened to him was being called inside when the woods were coming down. Real life was outdoors, but so was danger. And the longer he stayed out, the greater the danger. He forced himself down into a crouch and half crawled, half ran alongside the house and the hedges in the barn. At the back edge of the barn, he hesitated, staring into the seemingly endless gulf between the barn and the trees at the boundary between his backyard and the sports families. Everybody's gone, he told himself. There's nobody around, I know it. But still, he waited, staring at the blades of grass just beyond his feet. He'd been taught all of his life to fear open spaces like the one that was right in front of him. It faced dozens of windows. He'd never stepped foot in any place that public, even if it was deserted. Still hidden by the barn, he made himself inch his foot forward, and then he drew it back. Forward, and drew it back. He turned around and looked at his family's house, so safe and secure, his sanctuary. He heard his mother's voice in his head, "Luke, inside, now!" It seemed so real, he remembered, something he read in one of the old books in the attic about telepathy. Supposedly, if people really loved you, they could call out to you from miles away if you were in danger. He should go back. He should really go back. He'd be safe there. He took a deep breath, looking forward towards the sports family's house, back towards his own house again. He thought about returning home, trudging up the worn-out stairs, going back to his familiar room and the walls that he stared at every day. But suddenly, he hated his house. It wasn't his sanctuary. It was a prison. Before he had time to think again, he pushed himself off into a sprint, recklessly streaking across the grass. He didn't even stop to hide at any trees. He ran right to the sports family's door, and he tugged at the screen. It was locked.